Hey guys, Corey with Faymus Media, and today we're going to be looking at the Nikon 70-200 f4. So the Nikon 70-200 f4 is a fantastic lens. It's a little bit lighter to hold, actually quite a bit lighter to hold than the 70-200 f2.8. It has internal focusing, internal zoom. It also has 3 ED elements, 20 elements in 14 groups. It's very, very, very good image stabilization here. The VR is actually the new VR. I made a mistake on my unboxing video, thanks to a lot of people pointing it out, that this is not the VR2. It's actually a newer, better VR version, and it actually performs a little better. I don't notice a drastic difference, but it is noticeably better. And the autofocusing on this lens is pretty smooth, well, not as quick as the 70-200 f2.8. The 70-200 f4 is a great all-around lens for portrait work, weddings, even wildlife, if you're on a budget. The 70-200 f2.8 is the extreme of professional lenses. It's what all wedding professionals would want to go for. But if you're on a budget, this lens is fantastic and it performs very well. So there's a couple of options in the 70-200 range. You've got the 70-200 f4 for right around $1,300. You've got the Tamron 70-200 f2.8, which I think is a little bit more expensive than this one, like maybe $200 more. This lens performs great, although it's not an f2.8, it's a steady f4, but the good thing is it's made by Nikon, and I'm a little bit more favorable for Nikon brands over the aftermarket brands for many reasons, warranty being one of them. Of course, it's not going to be much tougher though than the Tamron. In fact, I think the Tamron is a little bit stronger. This is kind of plasticky. If it drops, it most likely will break. Not that you're going to drop it or anything like that, but in case of accidents, I could, beat my videographer with it and probably crack. Let's get some shots here and see what she looks like. Autofocus on the lens is really good. It's really swift and quiet. It doesn't go hunting a lot for the subject. It's pretty much on point. It performs pretty relative to the f2.8 70-200. They're very much in the same category, although I think the 2.8 focus is just a little bit quicker, but it's almost unnoticeable. The VR is just ridiculous. Like, it's so good. Even when I'm shaking the camera on purpose, it takes care of the image stabilization so well and properly. You don't have to wait for it. It's a really well-designed VR. It's not drastic over VR2, but you can see that there's some improvements when you're shaking the camera. I can see how it compensates so quickly. All right, so the 70-200 f4 is such a fantastic performer at $1,000 less than the 2.8 version. It's not built as rugged, so you can't beat up your video guy with it or drop it on the ground or anything like that. But at $1,000 less, you're only losing a stop-a-light, and the build quality is not quite as good. But the optical quality and the photos that you give your clients, nobody is going to be able to depict the difference between the two lenses, and you save $1,000. This lens is a great bang for buck, and it performs. Like I said, it's light in the hands, it focuses smoothly and promptly. The VR is newer than the f2.8, and it's just a little bit better, and you're saving all that money. This is the go-to lens if you want a tele lens and you don't want to spend upwards of $2,000 or $3,000. This is the one to get. And of course, the fact that it's Nikon and the warranty is fantastic. Of course, this is Super Bowl weekend, so you got the football game going on. There's traffic all over the place. It's just crazy. It took so long to park. My video guy's shaking his head yes, that it was very annoying trying to find parking. It was insane. There's MSG. Riding bikes. There's those city bikes, you guys can rent them. Just ride them through the city. Now that's a pothole right there. Good God. The 70-200 takes the personable feeling you get from being close to somebody and trying to get a really good shot. You can get them so far away, they don't even realize you're shooting. It's not really meant for street photography, but it's a great lens. You see that guy when he walked by, he's like made a really weird face. And I was trying to take a picture. It's like he's never seen a camera before. You can kind of just sit around and take pictures of everything because we're so far away, but the 70-200 just gets you right in there. It's a really great lens to have. I've actually did some shooting with this lens over the last 2 weeks, and I really like it. It's a really light lens. New York City driving for you right there. So basically what I've concluded of using this lens and the test that I've done is that this lens is the best bang for buck in the 70-200 range. If you're going to be looking at a tele lens and you got to have the best of the best, you go ahead and you grab the 2.8, but if you're trying to save a little bit of money and you want the best bang for buck without breaking your arm and leg and cash, this is the one to get. So the 70-200 f4 goes from f4 all the way down to f32. 9 diaphragm blades, has 3 ED elements, and of course it's also got 20 elements in 14 groups. And it's got the SWM, which is a silent wave motor. It's virtually silent, makes no noise at all, and it's very, very swift, and it
let's take a look at each of the lenses and see how they perform. First is the 70-200 f4, and there is a decent amount of vignetting at f4, but it gets much better as you stop it down to f5.6 and f8. Also, you'll notice I'm shooting this at right around 105 millimeters, but on the 70-200 f2.8, 105 millimeters seems like it's zoomed out a little bit in comparison to the f4 lens. You'll also notice that the vignetting in the f2.8 lens is considerably less all the way through. Even at f2.8, the 2.8 lens performs better than the f4. So let's go ahead and take a look at the lenses side by side, and you will see that the f4 lens does have more vignetting at f4 and f5.6. Around f8 it levels off and they're about neck and neck at this point, and at f11 there's virtually no difference. So let's go ahead and crop in 200%. Now, side by side, you'll see very little if any difference at all. However, there's two differences. The f2.8 lens is slightly sharper, and they're shot at the same focal length, yet the f4 lens seems like it's zoomed in further. So let's go ahead and do a focus breathing test, and as you can see, there's a decent amount of focus breathing at 200 millimeters on the 70-200 f4. At 105 millimeters, there's considerably less focus breathing, as expected. Now let's take a look at the 70-200 f2.8 at f4. And at 200 millimeters, there is noticeably more focus breathing. By the time we shift down to 105 millimeters, there's still much more focus breathing than there was on the f4 lens. So let's go ahead and compare the lenses side by side. And you'll see at 200 millimeters, the f4 lens has noticeably less focus breathing than the 2.8. At 105 millimeters, there's actually a greater difference between the two. The 2.8 definitely has more. So let's go ahead and take a look at the focus speed. First, the f4 lens from infinity, and then from closest distance. Next is the f2.8 lens, which is noticeably quicker. I'm even going to slow it down for you. See? It's not a drastic difference, but it is quicker. So let's go ahead and compare the VR from the f4 lens on the left to the f2.8 lens on the right. Now, comparing the shutter speeds at 1/60th, 1/30th, and even 1/15th yield very little if any difference between the two lenses at all. However, below 1/15th all the way down to 1/8th, the 2.8 lens surprisingly slightly, and I mean very slightly, outperforms the f4. However, something bizarre happens, and when we get down to the quarter and the half shutter speed, the 2.8 clearly outperforms the f4, although Nikon has stated that the f4 is better. Makes me scratch my head and wonder. So I went ahead and did the test numerous times, taking about 100 photos with each lens, giving me the same result. The f2.8 just clearly outperforms the f4 in the quarter and the half shutter speed range. Makes me wonder why Nikon has claimed that the f4 has this new VR, when in fact the VR2 outperforms it. The Nikon 70-200 f4 is a stunning lens, and the reason is because it packs all the punch that you'd expect from a more expensive lens at such a modest price tag. Granted, the f2.8 lens has an extra stop of light, focuses very slightly faster than the f4 lens, and is built a little bit better. But are those features worth $1,000 more to you? That's a question you have to ask yourself, and only you have the answer. And if indeed those features are not worth $1,000 for you, the f4 is a truly remarkable performer.
So guys, the Nikon 70-200 f4 is a fantastic lens. 20 elements, 14 groups, 9 diaphragm blades, 3 ED elements, and the new VR. The vibration reduction on this lens is actually quite a bit better than the VR2. Now that I've used it more, I can see there's a definite improvement there. If you're looking at getting a 70-200 lens, the only thing the 2.8 version does that this doesn't is the extra stop of light, of course, the build quality. So if you don't plan on beating somebody over the head with a lens or dropping it and you're not an avid professional, this is the lens for you, as it's $1,000 cheaper. Now this lens won't rub your back and tell you everything's gonna be okay or bake you a cookie or something. But the $1,000 that you say that's gonna be in your bank account would actually get you a massage at a massage parlor. So go figure, this lens actually could rub your back. I mean, it could. But all kidding aside, this lens is fantastic. Best bang for buck, you can't go wrong, and you're absolutely going to love it. It's going to give you everything that the 2.8 can, except the build quality and the extra stop of light. And if that's something that you don't need, save $1,000 and get, in my opinion, is one of the best tele lenses I've ever used. So guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Of course, if you're going to purchase any of the gear I review, I'm going to put the links down at the bottom. Please support my channel to keep the reviews coming, and please use those links. Big shout out going to Kevin and Bart over at Reither Camera. That's R-Y-T-H-E-R. Put the spelling down there for you. I can't even spell today. Anyway, don't forget, guys, subscribe. Links down on the bottom. I'm Corey with Faymus Media, and happy shooting.